Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here tonight. We do have quite the line going outside and around the corner. So we're going to give those folks that are in line waiting to check in just a few minutes before we get started. Ladies and gentlemen, a quorum being present, the meeting will come to order. This time I want to recognize that there is still a very lengthy line that is headed outside of the building. Everyone who has checked in already, I would ask that you make your way to a seat so that we can begin. And actually, please rise if you are so able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do have a few announcements to make before we do get started. Masks are optional for all attendees. Microphone covers will be provided, and we ask that you hold on to your microphone cover for reuse if you think that you may speak again. The Fez room is open and available for individuals who wish to participate from that location or as an overflow room. That is to the back of the auditorium to my right. Patrick Giroux has been sworn in as an alternate moderator to attend to that location. Additionally, for individuals who have signed up in advance, there are student volunteers from the high school providing childcare during the course of this meeting. That is also in the Fez room. I did want to thank those high school volunteers for stepping up and volunteering to take care of many of the children of the folks that are in the audience tonight, because that enables more people to attend and participate in our direct form of democracy. Bathrooms are located at the back side of the auditorium to my left. There's also a back bathroom that is accessible from the Fez room. If you are going to the bathroom, I'd ask that you take your green voter card so that the tellers and the check-in folks know that you have already checked in. Everyone should have a copy of the warrant for tonight's special town meeting, as it was contained in that swag bag that you received when checking in. It also contains a handout from the school department, and that bag contains your green voter card, which should be visible during a standing vote so the tellers can see them. We do have one article on the warrant for tonight's special town meeting. When the time comes to take a vote on an affirmative motion on that article, we will do so by standing vote, so all registered voters should find their way to a seat. If you're standing in the back or the periphery, so long as we have enough seats, we'll be asking you to try and find a seat. But that green voter card is how you're going to be letting the tellers know whether you're voting in favor or against the article. Non-voters should have a pink tag and be seated all the way to my right. If you wish to speak on the merits of the article, I'd ask that you approach one of the two microphones that are directly in front of me. I will call on the individuals that I see first at the microphones. Please identify your name and address so that we may accurately report the minutes for tonight's meeting. The makers of the main motion would be the first person who's going to be making a motion tonight. That individual, by our inhabitant bylaws, has 10 minutes to speak. All other individuals have 5 minutes to speak. So if you hear me tapping on the microphone, that means you have about 30 seconds. So please start to wind down your comments. All motions or amendments having to do with expenditures of money must be presented to me in writing. So if you are making a motion or planning on amending a motion, I will need that in writing. If you are not sure what we are voting on at any point tonight, please rise to make a point of order. I want to make sure that everybody here tonight is aware of what we're voting on. Most importantly, we will be dealing with ourselves respectfully, even where there may be issues on which there is disagreement. I will not tolerate personal attacks, discussion not related to the matter at hand, and discussion raised for the sole purpose of disrupting the assembly. No member of this body will address any other member by name, and all discussion will be through the moderator. I do want to thank the tellers, the Department of Public Works, the Public Buildings Department, the Health Department, the Police and Fire Departments, the IT Department, the Town Manager's Office, the School Department, and the Town Clerk's Office for making today possible, and all town employees for the effort that they continue to put forth under difficult circumstances, particularly in the effort that goes unseen to make tonight's meeting possible. I want to thank our friends at WCTV who are broadcasting tonight's meeting for the benefit of viewers watching at home and recording for future viewing. Lastly, I do want to thank the Shriners for their continued generosity to the town, and not only providing the venue for tonight's location, but also providing this venue for our 2020 November election and our 2021 annual and special town meeting at no cost to you, the taxpayers. We are grateful for the example that they set as a good corporate citizen and a positive member of the Wilmington community. Are there any questions before we dive into the warrant? Seeing none, we will begin. Greetings in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and in the manner prescribed by the bylaws of said town. You are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town qualified to vote in town affairs to meet and assemble at the Shriners Auditorium, 99 Fordham Road, in said town of Wilmington on Tuesday, the 8th day of March 2020 at 7 p.m. then and there to act on the following articles. Selectman Maselli.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the moderator dispense with further reading of the warrant and take up and make reference to each article by number.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Voted. We move on to Article 1. I'll read just a brief summary. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee for a feasibility study to consider replacement of the Wildwood School located at 182 Wildwood Street. Mr. Bendel.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Greg Bendel, 57 Roosevelt Road. I move that the town raise and appropriate from available funds free cash the amount of $1,200,000 for the purpose of paying costs for a feasibility study to consider replacement or renovation of the Wildwood School located at 182 Wildwood Street, including the accommodations of the existing grade configuration of pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, or a grade consolidation to include additional elementary school grades, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, and for which the town may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA. Said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any cost the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, and that the amount of funding authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by the grant amount set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Doherty. Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 1. Discussion, Mr. Bendel.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, for the record, Greg Bendel, 57 Roosevelt Road. Good evening, and thank you all here for coming here tonight. I strongly encourage all residents to join me in the passage of this article. Our children, our employees, and all residents of the town of Wilmington deserve this unique opportunity to move forward in the next phase of the MSBA process. Briefly, by way of background information, in November of 2019, the town prepared documentation for statements of interest to be submitted to the MSBA in hopes of being accepted into the grant program. In the spring of 2020, the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee both voted to submit 6 official statements of interest for each elementary school to the MSBA. Given the age and condition of the Wildwood School, it was identified as the priority school. Through the fall and winter of 2020, we met with the MSBA several times as part of their initial screening process, and in April of 2021, we were thankfully invited into the MSBA's program's eligibility period to be considered for funding for a new school or renovation of an existing school. In 2021, we formed the Wildwood School Building Committee made up of town officials, stakeholders, volunteering to serve. And since that time, we've been meeting regularly and alongside residents working on this project. In January, I, along with my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen, voted to call this special town meeting solely to vote on addressing a new school project. Recently, we hosted an open house at the Wildwood School for parents and community members who have not seen the Wildwood in person and gave them the opportunity to see the poor conditions firsthand. To date, 4 brochures have been published and distributed throughout the community describing the project progress. A website has been developed providing real-time updates, and a video tour was produced for viewers to see the school with their own eyes. Tonight, we have a chance to take the next step in our hopes of a new school building project, which is the feasibility and design phase to consider the replacement of the Wildwood School. In closing, this article has been unanimously supported by the Board of Selectmen, the School Committee, and the Finance Committee. I urge all of you to join us in voting yes on this article. And Mr. Moderator, without objection, I'd like to yield my time to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Brand.
Dr. Brand.
Thank you, Selectman Bendel, and good evening, members of the Wilmington community. It is my pleasure to be able to provide you this evening with some important background information on the Wildwood Early Childhood Center and the project in partnership with the MSBA. First, I'd like to provide some context and underlying rationale for this article that is before the community this evening. As many are undoubtedly aware, our school district is comprised of a total of 8 schools, with 6 at the elementary level. While these schools have been the centerpiece for the delivery of the educational services to the young people of this town for many years, they now represent a number of challenges that we as a community must confront. They are outdated facilities, and it is not just about the age of the schools themselves, but also, more importantly, that they were not built to meet the needs of delivering educational services or programs to children in this current time period. Additionally, while indeed the Wildwood is the town's oldest facility, the collective sum total of all 6 schools, along with their respective ages, represents significant capital investment needs to the tune of millions of dollars to renovate and/or repair these facilities. Most importantly, Wildwood is at the end of its useful life, and we need to attend to this in order to improve the conditions for our students and staff to better support teaching and learning for the young people that go to that school. We are here tonight because we are at a critical juncture and have before us a significant opportunity that does not come along very often for communities like ours who have school capital and infrastructure needs. Every year there are dozens and dozens of communities that apply to really the only grant funding program of its kind in the state, and that is the MSBA. Unfortunately, only few are invited in. In fact, some communities apply, and then apply again, and may still not get in for a variety of reasons. Wilmington is fortunate, as we were a number of years back with the Wilmington High School project. In part, this is because we have demonstrated the real and vast needs that we have for these 6 schools, and also because we have demonstrated before the MSBA that we are a sound partner for successful projects. This slide provides the community with an overview of exactly where we are at right now in this MSBA program, known as the eligibility period. This is a rather prescriptive set of procedures and timelines that any community such as ours invited into this project must follow. My thanks to the town manager, Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, our Superintendent of Public Buildings, our school committee, and members of the Central Office leadership team for their support in helping us successfully move through these steps and helping get us here tonight to this point this evening. We have provided the deliverables to this point in time since the clock on our project started running on July 1st, with formal commencement of what is known as the eligibility period. The final step is what is known as the first module, and it brings us here this evening, the local authorization of funding from the town to support a feasibility study. While there remains much more to come and many facets that a community such as ours must address and embark upon, you can see here the overview of this roadmap of where we are currently in this process. The successful vote this evening allows us to move on in the program and proceed through the next steps. We will move to the feasibility study with a successful vote of support this evening. What we are seeking is the support to authorize $1.2 million necessary for a feasibility study. These funds will go towards forming the project team and hiring an owner's project manager, professionals in the field who do this work and who can help our town and our school system explore the best options for us to attend to our school construction needs at the elementary level. The feasibility study is one of the most important aspects of this work to date and ultimately will allow the town and community to identify the educational program that we think is best for our new facility to embrace. The feasibility study will assist Wilmington in generating a thorough analysis of space and existing school building capacity linked to enrollment. And the feasibility study will help the town and school system develop and evaluate alternative options that we may wish to consider that extend beyond simply repairing and/or renovating the Wildwood School, that will include the possibility of school consolidation. Ultimately, the culmination of this next step will be to seek the most cost-effective and educationally appropriate solutions for the elementary population in Wilmington. The support of this article this evening allows the town of Wilmington to continue on in this pathway that we have begun towards an end that will eventually benefit future generations of young people of this community and their families for decades to come. However, if the funds are not appropriated, then the town of Wilmington's partnership with the MSBA will dissolve. Most importantly, it will leave the town and its residents to determine viable options in order to replace the Wildwood School, with all of expenses coming from residents directly, with no possibility of offset from the MSBA grant program. Thank you.
Further discussion? Well done. I expect to see all of you here at our annual town meeting on April 30th, by the way. If there is no further discussion, then we will call for the vote. Again, please get that green rectangle out of the bag that you received when you checked in, and tellers that ask that you take your place. If you're in favor of Article 1 passing, please indicate by standing up and showing off your green voter card. You may be seated. If you're opposed to Article 1 passing, please rise and display your green voter ID card, or voter card. Thank you for bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen. The final vote is 368 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion passes. No further business. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Voted. Good night.